record button. Okay, so this is my first time doing this. My name is Rachel, and these are two friends of mine that were very, very important during my time at Drake and are still very important to me now. And I wanted to share about their business because I'm doing something with their work in the next week or so. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity. So this is Jess and John Touche, and
Hi.
they work for a company called Betterway Designs. So if you guys want to share a little bit about what the company does.
Yeah, absolutely. So Betterway Designs is it's basically a global marketplace for 19 what are called freedom businesses, and these are businesses that are run and what they do is they hire and employ women out of this sex trade, and so a lot of these women are, they would be considered the unhireable in this world. They aren't given much value. And these companies, what they do is they take them on and they not only provide a fair wage job, we are also part of the Fair Trade Federation. So everyone along the supply chain is being paid a fair, livable wage, and it provided a safe work environment. But these companies that we work with also provide childcare, healthcare, counseling, education, job skill training, and some of them have been around long enough that they're even looking at building pension plans for their employees that are now old enough that they are at retirement age in places like India, where something like that's absolutely unheard of. So looks like we might need to plug in my phone. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm still there. I realized that someone was messaging me on Facebook and I exited out of the Facebook app. So Facebook, YouTube, this is my first time doing this. We're just kind of winging it tonight. But that's really cool about the pension plans. I mean, there's so many American companies that don't even get retirement benefits. Mm-hmm. And I usually always think, and this might be my ignorance, that being in a Western culture that our companies and our pay and everything would be better off. But it looks like in some situations, Betterway Designs actually has a better hiring package than some American companies. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we don't directly do any of the hiring, but the businesses that we partner with. So what we do is we pre-purchase the products that you see a whole bunch of behind us, and I'm wearing actually quite a few of our products. But we pre-purchase the items from these businesses at fair negotiated prices. Then those women are actually paid a daily wage, or most of them are salaried by the business that they work at. And then what we do is we function actually as a party platform. We are a direct sales company. And the reason that we do that is because we can reach out to more people than just a brick and mortar store. Betterway Designs is based in Zeeland, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And they actually started out in 2004, I believe, as a brick and mortar store, but they didn't make the kind of impact that they knew they wanted to. And so in 2012, they brought on the now co-owner, her name's Beth George, to help to turn this company into the direct sales model that you see now. And so now what's really cool is when we were doing home parties, we would bring the party to you. We would go into your house, set up. We are what are called freedom fighters. And there's right now, it's a really small company. There is about 160 freedom fighters in the entire country, which is a teeny tiny company, but we're making a really big impact. Okay. As a company last year in 2020, we were able to sell enough products to be able to generate 151,000 hours of future work, which is really, really exciting to be able to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is what we do and what the company does as a whole is try to create, right? I mean, we work off the supply and demand model, using the business model to our benefit. And so if we can create more of a demand than there is a supply, more women have to be hired out of the sex trade in order to create this product. And what we love about it is it's not, the focus isn't on what they have been. Yes, they've come out of that, but what they're actually created is they're creating in themselves to be artisans. These are artists at work for a lot of these products. Beautiful handmade product that, I mean, we talk about our products from one of our companies in Asia that we constantly talk about the fact that we don't know how they do it. Or a lot of our SARD product, there's a particular stitch that we just, it's so straight that it's done by hand. that you can't believe it's done by hand.
So like this is an example, we have pillow covers. These are made out of recycled sari. So not only are they good for people because they're hiring what the world would call unhireable and training them up as leaders, but then you're using recycled materials. And so this is made out of recycled sari. So it's a draped garment that women in South Asia, oftentimes you would see them wearing it. And then the stitching that's on it, I'll hold this up real close so you can see
It's
this.
fantastic. I can't even see the mark.
And so on that is a straight stitching called a kantha stitch. And that's a traditional Indian stitch. So you get a little piece of culture, but that's all done by hand, like these straight lines that I couldn't even do that with a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the things that's really cool about what we're doing is we are really wanting to challenge people to think about, you've heard the phrase vote with your dollars, right?
Oh,
that
yeah.
what you spend money on you're going to grow the industry that you invest in. So we want people to think about, instead of being like, hey, buy these products because of the women's stories. We don't want to do that. We want to look forward to the future and say, no. These women's stories have been rewritten. They are now artisans and they are going to live a better life, but they're being paid a fair wage, and you can invest in this to grow fair, ethical businesses. And that's what I really love, being able to work with people. And what we do is we do this party model. Now, since COVID happened last year, we had to pivot, right? We were doing in-home parties only, and then we had to re-gear. So now we're doing online parties, which has been a really unique thing to navigate. But now what's really cool is we're actually able to work with people literally all over the country, rather than just in our little 45 miles radius that I was driving and doing parties. So I did a party with, we've done parties with people in California, on the East Coast. I just recently had a new freedom fighter join my team all the way from North Carolina, which was really exciting.
Okay.
When we started this year, our goal was to have hosts in 12 different states. So our fiscal year started in August. So our goal is from August through July, we would hit 12 states from hosts. We hit that number by January. And so now our goal is
18.
And so that's just so wonderful that we get that impact, that COVID has been an awful thing across the world and it's caused lots of damage, but the silver lining of the fact is it's allowed our business to grow. And
Betterway's sales actually helped sustain a vast, probably a majority of the companies that we partner with. A lot of them lost a lot of their other accounts because of COVID, because of retail storefronts closing. And some of them were doing works with like events where they would make products to sell at events, and then all those events were canceled. So we actually became the solo stream of income or revenue coming into a lot of these businesses. And we've had reports of several businesses that have talked to BJ,
who's the other
co-owner, and said that if it wasn't for our sales and our back ordered items in 2020, they may have had to close doors. But now they're looking forward to 2020 for growth, right? Our partner in Bangladesh that makes our chunky knit blankets, which I love.
I use the blanket all the time.
They're awesome and amazing, made out of recycled sari again. They take 14 to 18 hours to make them. And they have the name of the artisan on the tag on the bag. They're beautiful. That company also makes jewelry, but they just hired on 16 more women. And they asked us, they said, hey, we need your help. We need you to increase your sales so you can help, so we can support those women working. Because these companies can't, it's a business. They can't just be like, everyone can come work for us. And, they have to have some kind of backing. They have to have some kind of security to know that their products are going to be saleable. They have to know that there's going to be someone who's interested in buying.
Just like any other company.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reality, but we're in partnership with these women. We're in partnership with these businesses, from those who are purchasing to hosting to us freedom fighters to the women creating the product to those who started the businesses. We're all in a partnership together. We all need each other. It's true dignified work that each and every one of us here in the U.S. crave and long for. It's the job that we look for, and that is the model that we live by. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And our partner in Bolivia, which they make some really beautiful leather goods. This is our Sophia bag, and our hosts can actually get this for half price. Really gorgeous bag. But our partner in Bolivia asked us, they said, so in 2020, our sales from 2019 actually were quadrupled, which was able to sustain her business and they were actually able to purchase a new building with 10 different rooms that they can expand their business. And they said, next year so in 2021, they want to hire 5 new women. And they asked us to double their sales from 2020 again. And so that's one of our goals for this year.
And we're going to do it. I mean, it's not even a question. We're going to do it.
And the best way for us to do that is by having more hosts, and especially bringing on more people to start up their businesses as freedom fighters. Because we are at a capacity that we can't go beyond what we're doing right now. But what we can do is we can take other people on our team and help teach them and train them to be freedom fighters, and then the work can be multiplied. So that's the only way that we're going to double our work is by basically doubling ourselves by taking on more people. And
that's pretty much exactly what's happening right now. So Jess is the #1 sales in the company, and right now our team sales per month, we only account for half or less than it. Our team is right now, which we're a relatively young, small team, is producing the same amount. But a year from now, we're still going to be producing the same amount. We are not going to be able to do more. We've tried, but we've realized that for our family, what makes the most sense is what we're doing right now. And so, although we are creating amazing impact and doing amazing things, it's that team culture. I mean, there are teams within the company that are creating $450,000 in sales versus our $60,000 in sales. And so the team, that team aspect of all of us freedom fighters coming together and producing change, and all of those who are coming to purchase, right? We love doing multi-host parties. We have 7 hosts come together, bring their friends. So your
party next week is you're one of seven different hosts in the party. And the reason we do that really is because we want to make the most amount of impact with our time. So the way that Betterway measures impact is by the number of future hours of employment that's provided, because every single item takes a certain amount of time to make it. So let's see, for example, let's see what's something that I know, like this scarf here. This is our square scarf. It's made in Pakistan. It's actually really, really big. But this takes 2 hours to make, because what they're doing, they tie all these ends and make the little fringe that's on the end of it. It's a really beautiful scarf made in Pakistan, and it takes 2 hours for them to make it. So when someone purchases it, we say, thank you for providing 2 hours of future employment, because since we pre-purchase that stuff, when it sells, we're going to go back to that supplier for more. And so by someone purchasing, it generates 2 additional hours of future employment. And by doing these parties like we do it with multiple hosts in it, we're able to produce between 400 and 1,000 hours of future work a week, just from our little business, it's so awesome, because what it shows is the collaborative purchasing power, right? One person bought a scarf that creates 2 hours of employment, but in a whole party full of people who are making purchases, they're creating hundreds of hours of future work. And that's one thing that we love about what we're doing. Same with being a freedom fighter. Last year, we calculated the amount of, in 2020, we calculated the amount of hours of work just my business as a freedom fighter created. And it was over 10,000 hours of future work, which is so awesome to be able to track that kind of impact.
Yeah. And like the reality is so the company's hoping this year to grow by 200 freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. And the way that we on a baseline measure it is each freedom fighter is worth, I guess we could say, 10 women hired. And
each freedom fighter that, takes off and runs with their business.
Yeah. And so but when I hear that number, what I've always thought is, all right, well, there's direct sales companies out there with 1,000 consultants, 10,000 consultants, 1 million consultants across the country.
Yeah, like a company like Mary Kay, which everyone's familiar with. There's about 1.2, I believe, 1.2 million consultants in the United States.
So if we had that kind of,
imagine the kind of impact we could make.
Wild to me.
When we grow and as we get more freedom fighters started up, it's absolutely amazing the impact that we're going to have in fighting against human trafficking and giving that dignified employment that's required.
And then I have a question for you guys. So obviously, you studied pharmacy in school. I've seen your posts. I heard, obviously, it's a 6-figure salary job and you're a bank manager, but if you could disregard those jobs and do this full time, would you?
That's a goal.
We've already been talking about it. Yeah. So Jess right now, from an hourly wage standpoint, makes more doing this job than as a pharmacist.
Wow.
So the opportunity, right? We've worked really hard over these past 3 years. So like I always am cautious to say that, because it's not like we jumped into this and got here. We worked hard doing this, and we worked hard getting here. The first couple of years, we didn't really make much money. We weren't trying to. That wasn't why it wasn't why we got into it. But the more we've done it, the more we've realized that the harder we work and the better that our business is, regardless of how much money we make, what that directly means is more hours and more impact. And so we know that the harder we work and the more women we bring on to be freedom fighters, the more impact we can make. But yeah, I mean, our goal is within the next 5 years to have both of us home full time, doing this business full time, to be able to be home with our family together, spend time together. It goes hand in hand with a lot of the things that we want to do as a family, and things that we feel we're called to do. And yet every second we pour into this business, we are creating lasting change and lasting impact and lasting relationships, because we've only ever talked about the impact we're making. We haven't even talked about the fact that the community in this company is unbelievable.
Goodness, it's amazing.
Like I go to work and I love my team at my job where I work, and yet it's still nothing in comparison to the team that we have with Betterway. So many different minds, so many different women coming together
for one cause.
Yeah, we're all different. In a world divided right now, it is so refreshing to come by, because you can watch Facebook posts and you can see that all the women are very different and from all walks of life. And yet when we walk into the same room for our conference, it is clear that all of us are on a mission and we're doing it together. There is no division. We are going to help each other, because the more that somebody else's business grows, the more impact we create.
It's a win for the whole team.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about this, so the direct sales world has, because of different companies, has somehow gotten a bad name, when in reality, this is actually one of the most liberating types of jobs to do. But specifically within the culture of Betterway Designs, it is absolutely countercultural, where it is women empowering women to empower women. John is actually a freedom fighter, so it's not just women.
We'll get more men on it.
I mean, from the top down, we actually have a personal relationship. We're friends with the owners of the company. And Beth and BJ are amazing, amazing saints with hearts of gold, whose mission in this business is to create freedom, right? They are the ones who are running this business, and the way that they run the home office, the way the customer service they provide allows me to provide good customer service. And it allowed, this culture of help that I've never seen it anywhere else. And I absolutely love it. Us freedom fighters have what's called an encouragement page. And every so often they ask for everyone's good news, and we're all, putting out our good news. And then when people are working and making different slides for doing our parties, so often people are, posting those things, or if they have a question, they ask, and everyone is so willing to help one another to grow our businesses so that we can, make more impact for the businesses that we partner with. Yeah. And it's so cool.
I mean, it's the main reason why our summer conference, and Lord willing, we'll be able to actually be in person this year. Mm-hmm. It is by far, like, I'm like itching to get to it. It's at the end of July, and I'm sitting here like, all right, it's gonna be July yet. I'm so excited to go. In part because I just really like the community of men that's growing. Because like for me, I have a big history where I was a part of the problem of sex trafficking. Part of the creating of that demand, creating of the culture that demands, that thrives, that allows sex trafficking to thrive. And so I've become a man who said, I'm gonna be part of the solution. And I love bringing other men, especially husbands, along and saying, hey, we're gonna be part of the solution. Your wife is doing this. How can you support her? How can you help her? And then there's just that is a growing number of men who are coming together and saying, no, sex trafficking is wrong. And I'm not just going to say it's wrong, but I'm going to do something to make that change, and whatever it look like, whatever they can do. So it's just that community is also growing too. So it's really fun to go to these events and look at the change and walk into this room and say, this is a group of people who say, we're going to make lasting change upon this world. And we're doing it through dignity.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sorry. And John, I'm not going into your personal story because that's a private matter, but has this been part of your healing from the whole thing, just being part of this ministry?
I don't know if I've ever thought about it that way. Because the healing, I guess, has come in other ways. It's more like I've spent, right. So I have a long history of pornography. That's where it mainly comes from. And so for me, I've spent the better part of 1.5 decades being a part of the problem. And so I will be excited when I get to the point when me being a part of the solution overtakes that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it is part of the healing, but for me, it's not that. I never think about that because it's all about the impact. I like the women, right? I move on. I know my history, but it's not what drives me or strengthens me anymore because I've moved on from my past to become something new, just like these women. So I don't know if this has necessarily been part of the healing process, because by the time I really became a part of this, when online came around, a lot of the healing had already been done through a lot of hard work. But so this is just more something that says this is my action step, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. I've done healing. This is my action step to say, all right, now we're going to jump off of where I was to do something more, to do something new, to become a better person, to become a better man.
Yeah. One thing I think is really cool is that, so the owner of the company, we had a winter conference. We have conferences every half of the year. This one was virtual, but one thing she said, you cannot say something about someone else that you do not believe about yourself. And so when we're saying that, these women, like, their past is in their past and their future is looking forward, like, we got to be able to believe that about ourselves as well. And that's one thing that's really cool. So one thing I was going to show, like, this shirt right here is it's organic cotton made in India, and it says unified on it, and it has 2 overlapping triangles. And this is a really cool shirt for me to me, it's cool. I like wearing it. My husband has a matching one. And I like wearing it because it's kind of like, oh, we're unified in it. But actually, the symbolism that's on the shirt is actually showing overlapping triangles because we are unified with our partners and with these women that are across the sea, because like we are dependent on them just as in making the stuff as they're dependent on us and selling the stuff. It's a woven circle that we are unified in this. We're unified in this mission to fight for and to see women get healed and restored out of trafficking. And the thing that's amazing about it, and thinking about it, we're saying we're saving these women, but what we're doing is we're actually changing the course of generations, because what happens culturally is so often in sex trafficking is that someone is in trafficking because their mother was trafficked, their sister was trafficked, their grandmother was trafficked, their children are destined to be trafficked.
And it's a cultural thing too, correct? In some parts of Asia.
It can be cultural, it could be poverty. A lot of it is poverty driven. And then, once you get trapped in that cycle, it just can continue. And so what this is doing, like I said, these companies are also providing childcare and providing a safe place for these kids to go. And then they're seeing mom working and doing a dignified job. And so now those children are much less likely to be trafficked. So it's not only making an impact now, but it's also making an impact in the future. We also have partners that do work on the preventative side as well, where they are employing women who are at risk of being trafficked or who live in areas. So we have a prevention unit in Murshidabad, India, which is notoriously it's a very poor, poverty-ridden area, and they make things like this right here. This is it's made again out of recycled saris, and it's strips of sari that are torn, and then they're stitched together. There's canvas backing on here, and then it has sari on the backside. But what they do is they employ, and this is our small size, we have a larger one too. They employ young moms and women and young women to work to be able to create income for their families, so that when traffickers come to the area, and they're not as likely to be preyed upon because they're able to provide for themselves. They're able to, buy a small plot of land or dig a well or get livestock to be able to feed their families, because these families are struggling to survive. And so if you are struggling to feed your family and get food on the table, and then you've never been able to afford to educate your children, and then someone comes along and says, hey, send your daughter to the city because she'll be able to be a nanny or a housekeeper, and they present it as a good opportunity. But then what happens is they take these children, which the average age of someone being brought into trafficking is 12 years old worldwide. Children. And what they do is they bring them, they put them in a brothel, and they say, you owe us this exorbitant rent. And then they keep them in a debt bondage. And then they guilt them and say, your family will never want you back once they find out what you've been doing. And culturally, a lot of times that may be true. But what they're doing is they're creating a stop on the front side so that these children are less likely to be brought into trafficking, as well as providing healing and restoring for those who have been brought into trafficking already.
That's awesome. And I also really wanted to talk, because I know I've seen your presentations before. It's almost therapeutic. The process of making the products as well is a form of counseling or therapy for the trauma these women have been through, and men and children. I don't want to say it's just women, because there are men.
Well, I mean, it's mostly women who like.
There are men as well. Primarily, the companies that we work with are hiring women, just because women are 90%
majority.
That's specifically for our partners. That's where the focus is.
There's a lot of really cool things. John will actually talk a little bit about the those chunky knit blankets that we were talking about earlier, and I'm gonna go grab something else while he's talking about.
For sure.
So you were talking about like the therapeutics. So these chunky knit blankets, which are weighted blankets, this is the medium size, so it provides 14 hours of the dignified future employment. And so what happens is when women are brought out of sex trafficking, they're, even after going through counseling, which generally takes about 6 months to a year before they're even able to work. After they go through that, there's still not, because their handshakings, because of the trauma they've gone through, they're not able to use a pair of scissors. So what they do is they're given sari, and they literally tear it to shreds, to strips on the floor, and then they loom weave it back together, and that process, like you're saying, is very therapeutic. And I just the intent and the thought process behind the owners of these companies is such a beautiful thing, is that they see somebody come in and they say, all right, well, you can't do this, and this because you physically can't, because of the trauma you've gone through. We're still going to find something for you because you're valuable, because you have value. And there's such beauty in that. And there's some of our companies that once they bring a woman on, they never let her leave.
I mean, all of them, like none of them are going to hire someone on and say, you have no skill sets. They will find some place, even if it's like sweeping the floors because they cannot sew, they cannot, if they can't make it, because these women have value and they're going to teach them and they're going to train them. And so, he was saying that, weaving those blankets is therapeutic. And the other thing, so I want to show off. So one of our partners in Texas spoke at our winter retreat in 2019. And so these are a couple of things that they make. So these are the marble statement earrings, and is a serenity necklace. It's really pretty. But one thing that she said is, she's like, the stuff, some of the things that are made, it's like, they're not actually very complex, but they're very symbolic. And so what she says that they do is, she said, they're making the pieces and they celebrate after each piece that they make, because she said, we're taking broken pieces of metal and rock and we're putting it together and we're making beautiful things. And so over and over again, these women are celebrating these small victories of taking broken pieces and putting them together and making something beautiful. And this kind of work and this, in doing this, is actually helping them to rewrite, all of the garbage that they have been trained in the life that they've been a part of. Is that it's slowly teaching them, no, I have value. I can make beautiful things. I can do things of value. And it helps them to learn and know the worth that they have. So that's one thing that I just really love about it. And, some of them are much more skilled. So John, if you want to hold up your blanket here. So to be in India, to be a woman who makes blankets is a very high calling. So this is one of our original sari blankets. This one's actually John's. But again, holding it up, if you can see those straight stitches that are on there, that's that kanta stitch. And then you see here that it has patches on it. And so the patches is partially so that they can be more sustainable, because instead of taking, underneath there's like a stain, a rip, or a tear, and instead of just like cutting out huge chunks of the material that's unusable, what they do is they take pieces from the end and then they patch it over, where sometimes they blend it in, really well, where you can't even hardly see it. And other times they make it into like a little accent like this one here. But what they do is it's more sustainable, so they can be as close to zero waste as possible. But it's also symbolic that something that's broken can be made beautiful again, right? Just like in our lives, like we make mistakes and have things wrong, and God can cover over those things and make something beautiful. It's the same with the stories, these things that we carry, and you can hold on to these and see them and say like, and it's, it's reminiscent of the woman that made this, right? That she may have some blemishes, but then, those have been covered over and she's been made into something new. So cool.
And this blanket, the reason why I love this, it has 24 patches on it. 24 patches, and it's it is my most favorite blanket I've seen in all the blankets we've sold. So, this one was specifically gotten for me, but the history and the history behind this blanket. Somebody loved this blanket till they loved the garment until they couldn't wear it anymore, threw it away, and someone took that history and made it beautiful again. And now it's this gorgeous blanket that can continue that history and continue that story. And there's just this thought that we're all right. All of our lives are intertwined here, and what somebody else does can affect another. And I think that's so important to remember that. I just love it. I love this blanket.
Perfect. And that will kind of lead me into my next question, because unfortunately I'm not paying for my Zoom account, so I get a 40-minute time. We've got about 7 minutes left. I would like to see some of your favorite, most popular products that are like real hits at the parties. So
well, the chunky knits you've already seen, so those are probably our most popular
products. You have one. Those are definitely they're definitely a reason. Our hosts, we have a really amazing host rewards platform as well. So our hosts can get those blankets. Once they get the minimum of party sales, they can get that blanket 50% off. They can get 75% off if they get 2 people to book parties. They can get it for free if they get up to $1,000 in sales. So that's definitely a motivator for people. But I think, the sari stuff is so unique. So this one here, when I go to in-home parties, this was definitely, this bag is our fold-over crossbody, our large fold-over bag. Definitely one of the favorites because people really love crossbody bags. And then it comes with that beautiful sari print. But when you order by color scheme, and the patterning and the exact coloring on your blanket or on your bag is going to be completely unique. But then obviously, some of these pieces are going to have those beautiful patches to remind you on it. And it's, just because it's something that's for a good cause doesn't mean it can't be good quality. So these have really nice clips on them as well, metal zippers on them. This is lined with canvas, so it's not going to just fall apart super easily.
And that speaks more to like the partnership, right? We depend on these women not to create only beautiful product, but like product that's good and lasting, and that's gonna that's worth the money,
and that's worth coming back for.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want people to
Well, so people won't ever come back for a story. If we tried to sell these stories, like, all right, I'm gonna make a purchase, I'm gonna do my good deed, and then they will be done. They won't come back. But if we're selling product that people want to have and it's worth having, which is everything we have is that way, they're going to keep coming back. And again, it's supply and demand. We're going to continue to grow that demand year over year over year. People are going to continue to go back because, hey, everything I've gotten from them has been beautiful and has lasted me and has been very useful.
And makes really good gifts as well. This is another one of our favorite items that people love. And this is our
sold out when I look.
They're not sold out now. You can always get these now. When we first got these in, they were on a back order and like couldn't come in. But what happened is that company was actually forced because of our demand to hire on more women. And so now they're in stock most of the time. But this is made out of one single strand of jute rope. So you see here's one end, here's another end. I don't know how they do it, but we also have some bigger rugs and stuff as well, which actually, let's just quick show that off. I know we're going to be cutting off time pretty soon, but this rug right here, just stunning. This is our round cotton rug. And this is an item that our hosts can get an exclusive discount on as well. But this is a heavy piece.
Still don't know how they do it.
It's so beautiful. This is also this whole thing is made out of one single strand of rope. it blows my mind thinking about that. Coffee.
We have sell coffee. So this is our new vineyard brew. It's brand new, starting in February. But all of our coffee is the reason why I love it is because it's made by a gentleman in Michigan, actually. But he came out of what's called the MICA project in Honduras. And what that project is all about is bringing boys and men off the street and teaching them to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. And what I just love about this, so he came out of that program, went to school, went to college, and right, has his passion. Now he works directly with small farms.
Which is called direct trade.
Yeah.
So it takes out that middleman, and it also helps. So the coffee industry is one of the worst for exploiting people. And
from a labor trafficking
point. So buying ethical coffee is huge.
Yeah.
And these direct trades coffees, and it's delicious. If you like
$10, right? It's not expensive. It's cheaper than Starbucks.
These bags it's $19 for a 12-ounce bag.
That's why you got to host a party, because that's how you get them half off.
Free. You can get them half off.
Well, I will attest. I drink the coffee. Once I figured out the grinder and how to make it taste good, it's great coffee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we love our coffee. Again, she's saying our decaf. We have the best decaf on the planet. I'll challenge anybody to try it. It's so good.
And it's not chemically decaffeinated. It's using a water method of decaffeination. So it doesn't have that nasty classic decaf. This isn't coffee taste. It's truly delicious. Yeah.
We have a lot more, but the leather product is always a really big hit. We have a lot of different leather items.
And a lot of the stuff's actually made out of like upcycled pieces and upcycled scraps. So like this here is a little cord holder that's actually made from scraps from other products, like this bag that's up here. It's made out of the same leather as that. And so they want to be as close to zero waste as possible. So they take those little scraps and they make something new out of it. We have a couple of earrings that are the same way.
This is new products. These weren't in the last catalog.
Yeah, they're new as of September. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we get a new catalog every year. So this past year we added 30 pages to a catalog, and we were talking to the owners, and they're talking about wanting to get to the point where they can have a brand new catalog
every 6 months.
Every 6 months, where there's still some carryover product, but there's constantly new product. And the reason I want to do that is because we hold a lot of the product in our home office warehouse. And so we want to be able to continue to go back to these companies and say, hey, we've stocked our warehouse with product, but now here's our new line that you have to start preparing for. And so I'll leave this off with one story. Is during the pandemic, one of the companies said that getting a pre-order from Betterway was life-giving. That the owner of that company would say, hey, Betterway Designs needs this amount of product, and it would just, all the women would be in an uproar and excitement
because they were all at home at that time, right? Everyone was on lockdown, and so hearing that there was work coming in, they were celebrating because they had no clue what the future was going to hold, and
their fear was that they were going to walk into work and there would be no work for them. And the problem with that is most of these women, they still have to provide. And they know what they can go back to that would provide. They don't want to, but they have children. They have to they want to take care of them.
And these companies know that.
Yeah.
They know that they have to continue to provide for these women. And so all of these companies that we work with maintained their employees' salaries throughout the entire shutdowns when women were, forced to be at home rather than going into work because of COVID-19.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, I think my screen is going to shut off any second, and I don't want to cut off.
Yep.
This is awesome. People who do watch this, I hope people watch it. It's going to be posted on my Facebook, and I'm going to also put it on YouTube. There will be a link going out to my party in the next 24 hours, roughly. Right?
On Tuesday, I'll be opening up the group for people to start for you to start.
So I'm hoping this will get people excited. And especially for those who can't even be for the presentation next Tuesday, if you watch this video, you're going to learn a lot of the same stuff. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I missed you guys. I can't wait until this pandemic is over and I can drive up to Rhinelander and see you and your 4 kids. Thank you so much for doing this.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.